10 Best Picks presents the top 10 best Canon lenses. Starting at number 10. Canon f70 to 200mm f4 liters is USM lens. You cannot be afraid to use Canon f70 to 200mm f4L is USM even in the stadium, where the light source is modest spotlights. If luminous power is not enough, you can make the shutter longer. The lens has an optical stabilizer. It allows you not to be afraid to get an oiled frame. Unfortunately, the focal length range is not very wide. Therefore, with the shooting of, say, frightened birds can cause problems. But this model can please comfortable weight. The lens does not need to be installed on a tripod. The camera with it can be held in hands. Thanks to the ability to focus already at 30 cm and a sufficiently large focal length, this lens is undoubtedly the best in the Canon line for macro photography. To this, we will add all the attributes of the top series high-class optics, ultrasonic autofocus, and even an effective optical stabilizer. Image stabilizer, by the way, first appeared on Canon macro optics. The focus system has 3 modes: traditional, from half a meter to infinity, and specialized, in the range of 0.3–0.5 meters. The third full mode allows you to move from one subject to another without unnecessary movement at all distances, but autofocus is slower and coarse, so you should use more often switch. For more information and price, check out the product links in description underneath the video. At number 9. Canon f400mm f5.6L USM. But now we have a thoroughbred telephoto lens without the possibility of changing the focal length. And what's more, 400mm is a lot for the full size. On the crumbled of the same matrix they will turn into all 600. Take pictures of craters on the moon? Why not? Naturally, for such focal length the light intensity is paid for. Filming in low light will need a camera with a very good sensor. The lens itself loves bright light, and it is noticeable not only by color rendering, but also by changing the sharpness of the image. Not surprisingly, on most of the frames showing the operation of f400mm f5.6L USM, you can see the African savanna. It's actually the most comfortable element for him. Number 8 of my list. Canon f70 to 200mm f2.8L is 2 USM. Having won the Best Professional Lens Award in 2011 by TIPA, this lens is still relevant 6 years later. By the standards of long focal lenses, it is short enough but light stable, and the ability to quickly reduce the focal length almost 3 times is indispensable for reporting shooting. And the speed of focus here is not inferior to the newest models of reporters. But during this time, the reputation has accumulated despite the complex mechanics. In the environment of photo reporters, f70 to 200mm f2.8L is 2 USM has earned the glory of almost unkilled in whatever situations it is camera. Coming at number 7. Canon zoom lens EF24 to 105mm f4L is another TIPA laureate, and the newly made his award in the nomination Best DSLR Standard Zoom Lens he received this year. A wide range of focal lengths is achieved by using 17 lenses divided into 12 groups. However, it was necessary to suffer light power. It is even less than the good old Soviet Helios, but functionality, of course, is incomparable. It is important to have an active optical stabilizer. When shooting from hands, it will allow making much more quality shots. Compared to the previous version, the aperture mechanism has been improved. It now has 10 rounded petals, which has a positive impact on the possibility of using the lens in portrait photography. At number 6. Canon f24 to 70mm f2.8L2 USM. The winner of the TIPA 2013 Best Professional Lens category surprises with sharpness. At any focal length, even at the edges of the image, he draws the picture on the minimum aperture is so sharp that it is hard to believe that a zoom lens makes the frame. It is possible to fight except that on maximum zoom, but it is to fight. Not surprisingly, the glory of the wedding lens, it copes with group photos and with individual portraits, although the quality of the background blur loses specialized optics, allowing the photographer to work all day with one lens. In addition, the lens works perfectly in control light for street shooting. This property is indispensable. For more information and price, check out the product links in description underneath the video. Halfway of my listed number 5. Canon f135mm f2L USM lens. A portrait telephoto lens? Yes, f135mm f2L USM is ambiguous, but it is loved by portrait photographers. Almost everything we said about Canon lens rating leader is right for him. Moreover, only the sophisticated eye will find in the finished photo the characteristic differences of these two lenses, and almost half the price will encourage many to come to terms with the non-standard for portrait shooting focal distance. For the 135mm lens, there is an excellent luminous intensity, and the versatility of this optics is also worthy of respect. Thanks to its long focus, it allows you to take photos of distant, fast-moving objects on the small shutter speeds, and at the same time a round diaphragm gives an excellent background blur, valuable for the portraits. Coming in at number 4 of my list, Canon f85mm f1.2 L2 USM lens. This is the second generation of the legendary top-class portrait lens. The unique texture of bokeh, the clarity of lines, and the saturation of colors, this is exactly what makes the lens popular, even despite a considerable price. And sharpness does not suffer an iota in any position of the diaphragm, that is, opening it as much as possible to focus on the subject, you will not have to sacrifice anything. That's why f85mm f1.2 L2 USM is perfect as a portrait. Compared to the previous generation, increased speed and accuracy of autofocus, the lens will be useful not only in the studio, but also on the street. At number 3. Canon f50mm f1.8 STM lens. However, the top 50 Canon, not everyone can afford. Well, if you do not have the luminous power of a whale lens on an inexpensive mirror and 10 cheaper, you can buy a good 50. Having a minimum aperture 1.8, the lens blurs the background well, especially since 7 petals with rounded edges, this blur draw quite adequately. For a novice photographer, it is also important that the lens on the minimum aperture is well compatible with autofocus. The same f1.2 L USM will require more manual focus. Here, even in low light, most cameras will ensure the accuracy of focus at the center point, and the focus system itself works quickly and quietly. In addition, the lens is quite versatile. Excellent sharpness of the image will be useful both for the reportage and for portraits. The lens focuses starting from 35 cm, so that it can take a face close-up. If in your hands a crotched camera, then, getting an equivalent focal length of 75 to 80 mm, it becomes the best inexpensive lens for portrait photo. Nearing the top of my list. At number 2. Canon f50mm f1.4 USM standard. Pleasant in the drawing and light nifty 50 from Canon, does not contain anything particularly interesting in the design middle as it is. It has excellent sharpness, someone even uses soft filters with him when shooting a portrait. Well, very even a decent light is useful not only as an end in itself, but also will allow to focus in limited light, even the owners of not the newest cameras, where autofocus sensors are blind. For crop cameras, by the way, it becomes especially attractive as a portrait, it is often bought for this purpose. On a full frame, it, as befits a nifty 50, is quite universal for everyday and small dimensions, with moderate weight contribute to this. Since we started talking about portraits, the lens has enough strong points in this regard. Good detail in the zone grip, color rendering, beautiful working off bokeh, it is not to take away from him. The popularity of the lens allows you to find a lot of photos in this genre when searching by model on the same 500px or Flickr, you can see for yourself. And number 1. Canon f50mm f1.2 liters USM lens. This lens is the champion of light power. It is difficult to even for giants of the optical industry to achieve f1.2. In practice, this allows the photographer to make a minimum depth of field by entirely focusing the frame on the subject. Moreover, the diaphragm mechanism here provides a microscopic level of distortion. The image with f50mm f1.2 L USM looks soft, with vibrant color rendering. With this, even minor chromatic aberrations along the edges of the picture perfectly connect. Yes, the lens is not universal, but in the studio of a photographer capable of playing the character of optics, he simply has to be. For more information and price, check out the product links in description underneath the video. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe my channel, share this video and hit the like button.